Welcome to our third Facebook Live session. Today I thought it's going to be a good idea to talk about something that we get a lot of questions asked. So I can go through a few things about lighting wood burning stoves, operating them, a couple of the pitfalls, bits and pieces, common questions that we get asked. And it's going to be easier if I can just go through the process and show you slowly how it's done, and hopefully this will help a few people that are maybe struggling with getting their wood burnings running properly. So I can answer any questions you want if you happen to be watching at the moment. But we'll try and I'll get Sean to ask me a few questions that we get asked quite commonly on the telephone and what have you once we fitted a wood burner, or even if you've had one fitted by somebody else and you're still struggling. So here we go. Today I'm going to be lighting this stove here, one of our most popular. This is the Hetta Inspire 45. It's a wood burning stove from Denmark. Particularly good stove, and it's one we fit probably 200 plus in a year. This one opens from the right, so it's going to be a little bit difficult to see what I'm doing, but I can't change that unfortunately. I'm going to start off with how to put the kindling in and the fire lighters to get a good established fire going. So I'm going to grab my kindling basket. So what we do, we refer to it as building a set of Jenga, because everybody's familiar with that. So what we use is, we use these fire lighters. They're in a little sachet. They're called burners. We like these because they don't smell. You just light the sachet and there's no mess. So when I say I tend to do it this way, this isn't a fixed way of doing it. Everybody's got their own way, but what we're trying to do is get a nice bit of dry kindling in there with plenty of air around it and fire lighters. That's going to get the fire established. So I'm going to put 2 fire lighters in there, and I'm going to build my little bit of Jenga up. Doesn't matter how much you put in, I think the more the better, because you're going to get a nice bed of embers going. So don't skimp on it. It's not expensive. Well, ours isn't expensive anyway.
Hey Pete, can you use paper? A lot of people do, I think.
Worst thing in my eyes you can do. A lot of people do use paper and they think it's the best thing. It's actually the worst thing. What it does, you scrunch up loads of newspaper and put it in there instead of fire lighters and kindling, and you haven't got a good airflow in there for one, and what happens is it burns away very quickly and just leaves a load of ash, so it doesn't actually heat your flue up and get the stove going properly, and it's not a light for long enough to get your wood light. So no, I don't think paper's a good thing, and you shouldn't actually burn anything with print on, really, so they say, but like everybody does, I know.
That's the Jenga effect.
That's my kind of Jenga. Okay. I would probably lose that game, but that's what we call it. So spend a little bit of time just making sure there's good airspace around the fuel that's in there. We all know that fire needs oxygen to burn, and it won't burn if you put it all close together. What I tend to do, I like to light the kindling first, then give it a couple of minutes and then add my logs. You don't have to. You can put your log on straight away, but if you've got quite a cold flue and what have you, it's best to warm the flue up quickly with just the kindling. Again, this is our way. All these matches, all the fire lighters and everything, the kindling, we can supply this to you. We keep it all in store. I'll show you in a minute. So I'm just lighting the edge of the fire lighters. We'll let that catch on its own.
I noticed that you didn't have like a clean grate.
Good question, that one. Worst thing you can have is a clean grate.
Oh.
Well, on most stoves, I will hit on one thing. When I've lit that, what I'm going to do, I'll go back to that in a minute. I've got the control fully over to the right, so that's on maximum. On this stove, there's just one control on this one. Then what I like to do is just leave the door slightly ajar for a couple of minutes. That just gets that fire established. Now you went on. You asked me about the clean grate. What most wood burners like is a bed of ash on the bottom where the fire is burning. What that does, when you finally get the red embers glowing on the bottom and that mixes in with the ash, you've got a good insulated bed. It's a lovely hot bed. That's the engine for your fire. If you keep your grate clean and clear of ash, what happens is air comes up under the grate, and wood doesn't like that. Wood likes to burn from the top. If you've got air coming up under the grate, all that's going to happen is the wood's going to burn quicker.
Right.
All right, so it's different. If it was multi-fuel, i.e. burning coal, coal likes air coming up underneath, and that's why the grate is there, because with the coal, it likes to burn from underneath.
It's getting going.
It's getting going now. So I would usually leave that a little bit longer, but I'm going to, just so it doesn't go on forever, this video, I'm going to start adding some wood now. This is kiln dried wood. We sell it in bags. It's always guaranteed to burn well. It's kiln dried hardwood. There's a few companies that supply this. We find this one the best we've ever found for bagged wood. Okay, and we sell this £7.50 a bag at the moment. Right.
Yeah, I bought some from a local garage. I've got a fire, and I bought some from the garage. And to be honest with you, it didn't really work that well.
When you bought it from the garage, was it in netted bags? Were they nets?
Yeah, it was netted bags. Yeah.
Right. What that is, they're supposedly kiln dried. Supposedly seasoned netted bags of wood. They're actually full of moisture. If you get them from a lot of garages, big DIY stores, and what have you, if they're in nets, they're usually going to be too damp for wood burners.
Right.
It should be well seasoned, professionally seasoned wood, or kiln dried is kind of guaranteed to burn.
Okay.
So I'm adding, let's go health and safety. Don't know who's watching. So these are proper fire gloves. You can actually put your hand in the fire with these on. You've got to make sure that they're the correct ones for doing it, and you've got them, again, we sell those. So I'm putting on a couple of bits of kiln dried wood. We usually put smaller pieces of wood on to get it going. These ones are a little bit bigger than normal for getting the fire going, just because I don't have any at the moment. So that, in about 10 minutes, you should see that fire well established, where I can start adding more fuel to it.
Okay. You mentioned they're kiln dried logs that you have there, Pete. You know, you're based here in Church Crookham. Do you recommend a local business to supply the other type?
What, the seasoned wood?
Seasoned, yeah.
Yeah, there's one very good company we work closely with, a company called Winchfield Logs. He's got an amazing operation. They're all barn dried. He does the job properly, so he sources it responsibly. And he buys felled wood, then he chops it himself, he dries it in the barns, and then they deliver in lots of different loads, different size loads. That's his card, Winchfield Logs.
Right, turn it around and have a look. Winchfield Logs. You can find them
online.
Can
you see that? You can find that online.
Yeah. Winchfield Logs. Yeah.
Very, very good company.
Yeah.
And there are others out there, obviously, and we've all got our favourites, but we need to guarantee that our customers are going to get a good supply, and he's never let us down. So
okay.
There are other types of fuel as well.
Yeah. Well, some people use coal.
Some people use coal. We're not into coal. We're not in a coal area. So I would say 95% of our customers just burn wood.
Right.
You get a lot of people wanting multi-fuel because they like the idea of having the choice, but it is actually a more expensive job to do to start with, and the way the world's going is towards wood. You know, coals are obviously fossil fuels, and we're not into that in the world at the moment. So.
Okay. So what else were you going to show us there? You're just about to pick up that log. Yeah. What's that? That very nice looking package.
That very nice looking package.
Yeah.
They're coffee logs. It's basically the byproduct of making coffee. So it's spent coffee beans, really. It's compressed. just another option. What this, there's lots of different types of things. They actually smell of chocolate, funnily enough, but they burn quite well.
Yeah.
So lots of people are getting on the bandwagon with
eco-friendly
fuel.
Yeah.
It's kind of a bit of fun as well,
Yeah. You were going to show us, while this is still heating up, you're going to show us some of the things you actually do use to actually help, get the fires going.
Yeah, lots of different things. I'm going to put one of these on the stove.
Oh.
This is an eco fan. I'll explain what that does in a minute. Hopefully we'll have enough time and that will start spinning, and I'll explain about that later. That sits on top of a stove, so that's something we sell. The firelighters I mentioned, we sell these in tubs of 100.
Okay.
Nice and clean. Okay, they're $13.75. We got these. These are incredibly good. What these are designed for, they're like abrasive, and they're for cleaning the glass of the stove. So every now and again, you can clean your glass, and these are shaped like this to get into the corners. They're very good. We sell the matches. We sell all the paints. There's nothing we don't sell for wood burners, to be honest.
Yeah.
Obviously, all the baskets and everything you might need.
Oh, I see you've got a few special items on display there.
These?
I noticed these, little offers.
Well, we might as well give them a plug.
Right.
This one's actually sold, so I've got to take that off. But yeah, every now and again, just to keep on top of latest products, we have to sell things off. So some fantastic bargains to be had at the moment. They'll go very quickly. So we've got wood burners less than half price. They've just got to go to make way for the latest models. So yeah, they're all there.
Yeah, we're just having a look. We're sort of interested in getting a wood burner. We're not at the moment sure.
Well, as this is obviously, we're in your showroom, so you're bound to have customers coming in. So there's just another couple of customers. Try not to get them on film, but but this is a working showroom, so we're bound to be interrupted
Absolutely,
from time to time. But listen, I've been told that you shouldn't start turning the stove down until it's fully up to temperature. Is that right?
Yeah, now that's one of the most common problems we have. When we fit a stove, quite often, if you're not used to the stove, or the customer's not used to the stove, it doesn't matter how long we might be taking, explaining on site how they work. They're usually so excited about having their wood burner in, they're not listening a lot of the time. So we will get the phone call like the next day saying, you fitted a stove for me, it doesn't work.
Right.
Okay, and usually the most common problem is they've got this lovely bonfire going, raging away, and they've turned it down because they think it's up to temperature and put another log on, and it's nowhere near up to temperature. Usually, absolute minimum half an hour really, usually around 45 minutes till that wood burner is up to full working temperature.
Right.
So you can time it if you want, there's ways of doing it. You just add fuel, keep it on full blast. Like I say, half hour to 45 minutes. There are visual indicators as well that you can see within the stove that are going to tell you that that's up to temperature and running nicely.
Right.
The stove that I just lit, you can see that's only just started to get established. That's nowhere near ready.
Oh right, okay.
No, it's got a nice bonfire going in there.
So I'd be thinking about putting another log on already.
No, that's still cold.
Right.
That's freezing cold still.
Right.
Nowhere near up to temperature. Just because you've got lots of flames there, it's nowhere near up to temperature. This stove here has been running for about an hour.
Okay.
The one that's behind Eco Dog, Lexi, say hello. Oh, there you go. She's bored with me already. We just added 2 logs to this.
Right.
Now you can see this is up to temperature. The way you can tell, one, the glass is clean.
Hello. The glass is clean.
Sorry.
No, you're all right.
Superstar in the making. Sit. A good girl. So you've got the glass that's clean. If this wasn't up to temperature and we turned it down too early, that glass would go black. The reason for that is it's not. If the temperature isn't up there, the cleaning features such as the air wash, which is something that cleans the glass, and the clean burn system doesn't work properly. It's a bit like a self-cleaning oven. You have to turn them right up. Or I refer to diesel cars. If you've got a diesel car and you don't get it hot enough, you're going to give it problems. It's going to coke up. That's exactly the same with the stove. Once it's up to temperature, absolutely fine. It's cleaned everything out. So you can tell by the glass is clean, and also the interior of the stove is clean. When this was lit, that went black. It's now up to temperature, and it's gone clean. So that's another way of telling. Also, on the bottom, as I said earlier, you've got a nice bed of ash and glowing embers. That's the engine for this fire. So I can let those burn out almost, just put another log on there. Because you've got that insulated bed of embers at the bottom, the log will just catch light straight away. So as you can see on this one, this is not doing. You can see at the back here, I don't know if the video is going to show it up, but it is actually black on the top of what we call the baffle. That's the angled bit within there. Always open your door slowly to stop ash coming out. You'll see at the top there, I don't know if that's going to just glare up on the video, but it's actually black.
Yeah, I can see that.
Okay.
Yeah.
In about half an hour, or maybe less, that'll start to go clean, and that's just where it's burning everything off.
And when it's up to temperature on top of on the outside of the actual stove itself, is that how that fan will now work? Cause
yeah. What happens with the stove when you build up temperature? This whole box will the metal box will start to get hot. That's how a stove works.
Right.
So basically, when this has got hot, it's going to attract cold air towards it. Cold air is going to go around the stove and come away as warm air.
Yeah. You know, Pete, often people say that you can have a wood burner in your house. It can heat the whole house. Is that true?
You put something hot enough in anywhere, it's going to heat up more and more.
But a whole house, though?
No, generally no, because it's zonal. You've got a stove in your lounge. If you just make that stove bigger, so it therefore gets hotter, you're not going to be able to go in that lounge and enjoy it. You're going to suffer. You're not going to be able to go in there. It's going to be too uncomfortable. So whenever you're fitting a wood burner, just really do it for the room that it's in, and you will always get a bit more filtering throughout the house. Sometimes we'll go in the house, put a wood burner in. Say bungalows are the best for this. You put it in the lounge. They've got it lit all day, and the whole house is warm. It's just the way the air naturally flows.
Oh look, that's just started to roll there.
There you go. That's the fan starting.
So just say that we've actually done everything like you said, you know, and it's all sort of you've done exactly what you've just suggested and built the fire exactly the right way. What then? And if it's not working,
if it's still not working properly, very very rarely is it down to the wood burner. Very rarely. It's usually the fuel. That's the most
like
common
damp
problem.
wood, for instance.
Damp wood. Wood should be less than 20% moisture for a wood burner. Ideally 10% moisture. Okay. Like we referred to the netted bags, a lot of those are 30-35% moisture. They're just not going to burn. So it's going to spend all of that energy it produces boiling the water in the log rather than giving heat out.
Right.
So the energy isn't getting spent properly.
Okay, and also this must create a lot of sort of ash and stuff, doesn't it? What happens then? You know, should you clean it regularly, or the inside, or get a professional in? Or
I will just go back to the previous question.
Oh, sorry. Okay.
Because I dribbled on a bit about that first bit. It's also the flue itself.
Yeah.
If you haven't got a good flue, it's not going to pull the air up, and if it's not pulling the air up, it's not pulling air into the stove.
Right.
So again, that's a bit like fuel in an engine. It needs to be the correct mixture. So it's usually flue, fuel, or the operator.
Okay.
And then by the operator, I mean things like turning it down too quickly.
Right.
All right.
Yeah. Okay.
So sorry, what was that other question you asked me?
Yeah, it must produce quite a lot of ash, mustn't it? These burners. I mean, what happens? Do you have to clean them out regularly? You mentioned earlier that you don't have to have a clean grate, but surely you should have it fairly clean.
Most stoves, you let the ash build up until it almost overflows.
Yeah.
And then you just take some ash out. Other stoves, they're designed in a slightly different way, so you do need to clean the bottom out more regularly, and usually there's a little removable grate you just clean out. That's to allow what's called the primary air to come through.
Okay.
It's just different ways some stoves operate, but obviously all that's explained when you buy a purchase.
And what about the flue? How often should it be cleaned? Once a year? Once 2 years? Or
Usually
how
once
often?
a year.
Okay.
If you fit a wood burner, burn good fuel, it's usually once a year, and you can have just the stove swept, or you can have it swept and serviced, and that means checking things like seals, baffles, making sure that it's in good health.
Yeah. Well, it looks like the fire is going really well now. I mean, that's only 2 logs on there, isn't it?
That's only 2 logs on there. This is a little device. It's a flue thermometer. You see this little red marker here.
Yeah.
Really, you want the flue temperature above 300.
Okay.
Just another little indicator that people like to buy. It just helps them understand their stove a little bit better.
Okay.
What I'd normally do here, again, this is nowhere near up to temperature. You might think it is. If I turn that down, what's going to happen? That's eventually going to go black. You can't turn it down yet, so we're going to keep that on full.
Yeah.
You see the way that the air's rushing in there? But I would be now adding another log.
Right. With your glove?
You see me doing that without my glove?
Yeah.
This is a cool touch handle.
Oh, right.
It's
okay.
ventilated.
Oh, I see.
Okay?
Okay.
I do not recommend you do this. Always have a glove at hand.
Oh, wow, that's a difference, isn't it?
Okay? So there you go. Don't the other stove, a bit of wood in. I would just leave this for probably half an hour. In about half an hour, there's going to be a lovely bed of embers. I can put another log on, and then I can start to turn it down. So what I'll be doing effectively is starving it of oxygen, really, to the level where it just burns nicely. That's how you get the efficiency from a stove. Not too much air. So once it's up to temperature, you can do this. So what I'll be doing when that's up to temperature, I'll be taking that down. I'll be watching the flames. I can see the flames start to slow down. To me, I know that's not going to last long like that, so I just add a little bit more air. And then you see the flames start to roll. That will then burn all day long. I wouldn't have to touch it. All I'd have to do is add a log every 45 minutes to an hour, usually on a stove like this, depending on the size of the log. Alright, I'm going to turn this up again, because like I say, it's still not completely up there, so I'm going to let that do its thing now.
Yeah, I noticed you've got a couple of live viewers here. Pete, if anybody's got any questions they can ask, of course, if they want.
Yeah, please ask away.
We'll try and get them answered.
Please ask away, because it's important we do this, because we probably get 10 phone calls a day. We say the same thing. We've got an email that we send out, which basically covers most of what we've talked about today.
Right.
But if you've got any other questions, any other little problems you might be having, I can try to answer them as best I can. I
have to say that fire's looking very good. It looks good.
But you still can't feel an awful lot of heat from it.
Not yet, no.
As you know, you've been in there before, say halfway through the day when this has been running.
Yeah.
It's stiflingly hot in here, and that's a relatively small stove, really. It's a 5 kilowatt stove. Generally, what people generally don't go above 5 kilowatt, especially in our area. Bigger houses, bigger open plan living, converted barns. Yes, you're going to be onto anything up to 10, 15 kilowatt stoves. But
now that stove you're showing us there, that wouldn't fit in a normal chimney, would it? Through a normal hearth. In a normal hearth, would it?
Yeah, it would. This is what we call a normal size opening. This is common size. Very modern houses, much smaller, usually around 600 mil. This is more like 800 mil, which is quite common to find in houses, probably 1970s backwards. In a modern stove, you start getting into what's called Dunbrick and red bank chimney systems. And they're built in a certain way where you're only left with 600 mil, but in a lot of cases we can open that up.
Oh, right.
So as long as you've got the actual chimney breast on the outside is wide enough, we can remove whatever's in there and widen the opening. It's all got to be within building regs, but that's where we advise on site. So.
Okay, people, I haven't got any questions. Is there anything else that we need to cover at the moment? I can't think of anything.
Anything we need to cover? No, I don't think so. I think I've explained enough. These are the things we do explain. Quite often I'll go out to a customer's house if they really don't understand over the phone, and I'll sit down for an hour, I'll drink their tea and coffee and go through the lighting process. By the time we've done that, we're not getting phone calls saying I can't get the stove lit. I'm getting phone calls saying thank you very much for coming out.
So hopefully this video will help some people in understanding and doing it themselves.
I'm sure it will, because it is just Boy Scout stuff. It's quite easy to understand, but at the end of the day, it's a new thing. A lot of people have never had one before. It's not like a gas fire where you can turn it up and down. You've got a constant supply of fuel. It's just getting a little understanding, and once you have got that understanding, it actually becomes quite enjoyable. And that's what stoves are all about: enjoyment. As you know, it's not just a heater. People like bonfires, don't they? So.
So a final look at the fire that's been going for quite a while. That one over there.
It's running happily.
It's looking good.
And that just ticks away all day long.
And this is getting up to temperature now, isn't it, Pete?
You can see.
But it's taken a while, hasn't it?
Fan's running faster. I wouldn't be touching that now with my hand. That is now over 300. Okay, getting up to 350. And like I say, once that's, we don't need to go, but this is just a good little indicator. It just helps people. I always use these visual indicators within the stove, just getting to know your stove. You might be able to see just very quickly where I said that was black earlier. If it shows up, you can now see, I don't know if that's probably going to make things worse. You can now see it's clean
white now.
Yeah, it's just burnt everything off.
Okay, great. Well, that's great, Pete. We're going to do another one of these Facebook Lives in a couple of weeks, so if anybody's got any questions, they want us to do a video on any particular aspect, whether it be gas, whether it be wood burning, then we're open to it. Just email you.
Yes, please. This time of year, it gets quieter for us, so it's a perfect time of year. If you have got any issues with your stove, or running it, or you want any help, on-site advice, that's what we do. So just give us a ring.
Okay, well done.
Thank you.